I'm going to tell you a story about words and about silence, about how I discovered, lost, and then recaptured my identity as a writer. In July 2012, I was 25. I was working as a nanny and living with my parents for the summer. I'd spent the 4th of July with friends in rural Alabama, setting off fireworks and drinking cheap beer at a swimming hole deep in the Talladega forest. In only 3 weeks, I was going to move across the country to start a master's program in creative writing when I contracted encephalitis meningitis, most likely from a mosquito bite. I felt off for about a week, but I thought it was a really bad cold. On July 15th, around 4 in the morning, my mom found me on the bedroom floor in the midst of a grand mal seizure. I'd never had one before. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, migrating from one floor to another. It was a teaching hospital, so pairs and trios of doctors were constantly visiting. Even after 2 spinal taps and tons of blood tests, no one could figure out what had happened. I spent those 2 weeks sleeping, dreaming, hallucinating, enjoying the visits from nearly everyone I knew, it felt like. Alex, my boyfriend, came to the hospital every day. He read to me, John Cheever and Lydia Davis. Once, I woke up to find my best friend sitting next to my bed. She'd flown down to Atlanta from New York. I laughed and said, "Wow, I love your sweater." I didn't fully understand the magnitude of what had happened until I got home. The seizures had originated in my occipital lobe, and I had to stay in a dim house with the curtains drawn. I couldn't read. I couldn't make sense of the lines on the page. My hand remembered the shapes of letters, but I couldn't understand what I'd written. When we asked the doctors when I'd be able to read again, they shrugged. This is from a journal entry the next year. After I got out of the hospital, I was docile for a long time. My body remained weak as the rest of me struggled to rise, to return to normal, and nothing felt right. Sleeping in my brother's childhood bed, being trapped in the house, dog hair in my mouth, listening to music, returning to my teenage years, and it was radio to numb it, and Cheez-Its, and lying dead feeling on the couch. And I lashed out in particular at my mother. It infuriated me how unfair it felt. It was being a teen again, but with all the color and juice squeezed out. The dark room was closed, and my journal remained empty, and the walls were bare, and all my friends were in other cities. My mother was there, was everywhere, grieving all over the place, and also loving me more than I could handle. And there was no poetry, and no sun, and no God. I was just angry, with sticks for bones, tiny starved legs and dry hair, breaking and big hollow eyes and fury. Ghosts crept into my room to pester me in the night. What to lay my eyes on first? I chose Man Ray to see when I could see. I liked his soothing shadows, his velvety blacks, his feminine sloping shapes and ghostly geometry. I chose Hart Crane to read because I was hungry, and because why not? Why be so gentle with myself? The Hive by Hart Crane. Up the chasm walls of my bleeding heart, humanity pecks, claws, sobs, and climbs. Up the inside and over every part of the hive of the world that is my heart. And of all the sowing and all the tear tendering and reaping have mercy and love issued forth. Mercy, white milk and honey, gold love. And I watch and say, these the anguish are worth. From another journal entry, this quote by Georgia O'Keeffe. I made you take time to look at what I saw, and when you took time to really notice my flower, you hung all your associations with flowers on my flower, and you write about my flower as if I think and see what you think and see, and I don't. All the scrawls began to make sense after about a month. Even if I didn't fully understand what I was reading, poetry felt like the right place to start. It felt accessible with its compactness, its imagery, its line breaks, a chance to catch your breath. And soon the books my father read to me as a kid, and then on and on from there. My mom worked a lot, and my brother had moved out, so it was just me and my dad, like roommates. We're much closer now. I tried over and over to write about all this, but I was never satisfied. No angle was quite right. No words felt adequate. I could never capture it. I felt like I was fighting with myself, with who knows how many versions of me. But life became easier. I went back to work as a nanny. Alex and I took road trips through Tennessee and North Carolina. To gain some emotional distance and to find some humor in all the mess, my friends and I started referring to it as the incident. A year later, Alex and I moved to Oregon, and I wrote pages and pages about bodies and animals and landscapes and home. And now here I am, hoping to help others heal and find themselves through writing. Writing isn't supposed to be easy. It's still just as difficult, frustrating, and isolating as it ever was, but it's also even more rewarding. I could think of this journey as a linear one. In a sense, it does have a kind of beginning, middle, and end, but I prefer to see it as a collage, one that I didn't expect to make, but now I can't turn back. I wouldn't want to, even if I could.